Hi everybody, welcome back to another video. I hope you're all okay and doing well inside, and I hope you enjoyed my last few videos on knitting. So I thought I'd bring another crochet video because we've been focused on learning to knit over the past couple of weeks so that you could learn something new during lockdown, but now I'm going to teach you a new crochet stitch and get back in the crochet groove. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to create one of my favourite crochet stitches, the jasmine stitch. And basically it's a number of puff stitches that go together in a way and you create little flowers within your piece of work. So again, this is one of my favourites. I've done a baby blanket with this and I've done a couple other things that I really enjoy doing with this stitch. So today all you're going to need is any ball of yarn. I've got some Stylecraft Special, just a double knit DK weight, but you can use any weight that you like. So I have my corresponding hook, which is the 4mm, and a pair of scissors just to chop off my yarn. So go ahead and grab what you need and we'll be ready to begin. Okay then, so we begin our jasmine stitch with our slip knot. So you can do this in whichever way that you prefer. I do have a video on it, but go ahead and just work that and insert your crochet hook into that loop. Just like so, and pulling gently. So this is a little bit of a different stitch because it's a puff stitch variation. So we're actually not going to start with a foundation chain. We're going to start with a chain of puff stitches. We're going to chain one to begin, and that's what we're going to work our first puff stitch into. So all you're going to do is gently pull up on your crochet hook so you have a bit of a bigger loop there. So just like so, pull up a loop nice and high, and you're going to yarn over and work into that chain stitch. Insert your hook, yarn over again, and pull up a loop. And pull up once again quite high. Obviously not really high and not really short, just somewhere in the middle. You're going to work this once more into this chain space. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over again, and pull up your loop. So now you should have 5 loops on your crochet hook, and they should be quite high and it should look a little bit different to what you've previously done. And now we're going to complete our puff stitch. So to do this, you're going to pinch your yarn like so. You're going to yarn over and pull through all of those 5 loops, keeping hold of the pinched bit of yarn. Then into that pinched bit of yarn, you're going to insert your crochet hook. You're going to yarn over and you're going to work a single crochet or a double crochet in UK terms. So do not worry, I know I worked that quite quickly for you. So again, we're now going to work into the single crochet or double crochet that we just worked. So gently pull up your loop like so. Yarn over. Insert your hook into that single crochet, yarn over and pull up your loop. So you have 3 loops on your hook, quite high. Yarn over, insert your hook into that single crochet, yarn over and pull up a loop. So again, you should have 5 loops on your hook. Now this is the tricky bit that can be confusing. So you have your ball end of yarn, and you're holding it in whichever way that you prefer. But all you're going to do is gently grab onto that so we have something to work into. So pinch this bit of yarn, then higher up past your fingers, yarn over, and pull through all 5 of those loops. And then into the gap that you just pinched, insert your hook and work a double crochet or a single crochet in US. That's 2 puff stitches, and you're going to work this all the way along until you have your desired length of foundation puff stitches. Okay then, we're ready to move on from our foundation row. I've just worked 10 puff stitches along my foundation row for my swatch square, but obviously depending on your project will depend on how many puff stitches you've done. So now we're going to move on, and this row is again a little bit different, but to begin we're going to work into this double crochet. So for row 1, gently pull up your loop, yarn over, insert into that double crochet just directly underneath, pull up and repeat that. And now we're going to work our next petal. So we've just worked for our 1 petal and we're going to work 3 before we close. So we've worked 1, we're now going to work into the next space. So we've worked into this space here, we're going to work into this space, and then we're going to work into this space again. So you've worked 1 petal, now yarn over, insert into the next space, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now we're working in our 3rd petal into the next space, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you will end up with a lot of loops on your hook. You should end up with 13 loops. Now this bit is a little bit tricky because you're going to pinch and you're going to yarn over through all of these loops. So it's going to be a little bit difficult, but go ahead and pinch your yarn and hold on to that pinched bit of yarn, yarn over, and you're going to gently pull through all of those loops on your hook, like so. And then just like before, into that pinched bit of yarn, you're going to work a double crochet. So you've just worked 3 petals, 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to move on to our next set of 3 petals. So for the next set of 3 petals, you're going to work into the double crochet that's directly under your hook. You're going to work into the next space, which is the same as the last petal that you just worked, and you're going to work into the next space as well. So pull up a loop, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up. That's 1 petal. You're going to work into this next space here. Now you've already worked into this space, but you're going to work into it again for the next set of petals, and then into this last space right here. You should have 13 loops on your hook, 4, 4 and 5. Pinch your yarn, yarn over and gently pull through all 13 of those loops and work a double crochet into that pinched bit. So now you've just worked another 3. You're going to repeat this all the way along your row. So pull up, work into the double crochet that you've just worked, so directly underneath. Then work into the space that you've just worked your last petal into. And then move on to the next space, ready for the last petal. 13 loops, pinch, and pull through all of those. It can be quite difficult. Insert and work your double crochet. So continue working this all the way along, making sure that you are creating 3 petals every time that you do one, working into the double crochet that you've just worked, the stitch directly underneath and the next stitch along. Continue doing this all the way along your row until you have row 1 of your jasmine stitch. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the last petal, and for this you're going to work into the chain 1 that you did at the very beginning. So it may be a little bit harder for you to see, but you're just going to work into that stitch exactly the same as you've been doing all the way along. And work your jasmine stitch. Okay then, we're ready to move on to row 2, and you'll see this stitch build really quickly, which is why I really like it. Okay then, so we're going to move on to row 2, and to do this we're just going to chain 1 and turn your work. So for this row we start in a little bit of a different way. We're going to start by making 1 puff stitch to begin with, just so that we can get a flat edge and the stitches don't pull. So you're not going to work into this chain 1, that was just to get a little bit of leverage to go around. You're going to work into the stitch that you worked from the previous row. So you should be able to see these gaps quite easily along your row. They're just the double crochets that you've worked into. You're going to work into the first one of these. You're going to gently pull up your loop, yarn over, insert yarn over, pull through, yarn over, insert yarn over, pull through. You're going to grasp your yarn and just work a simple puff stitch. So that means that our stitches won't pull and we should get a straighter edge along our work. And now we can begin with our petals of 3. So our first one's going to be into the double crochet that we just worked, then it's going to be into the exact same stitch that we just worked, our puff stitch, and then the next one along. So you pull up, yarn over, insert yarn over, yarn over, insert yarn over, and next stitch along. 13 loops, 3 petals, gently pulling through, and making a double crochet. So I hope you've been able to get this so far. I'm going to work along the rest of my row and I'll meet you back when I've done that. Go ahead and rewind the video if you have to, pause the video if you have to, keep going. So go ahead and work that along the rest of your row and I'll meet you back when we've done that. Okay then, so that is only 2 rows on the foundation chain, but you can already see the jasmine stitch start to form. There's just little flowers built into your work. So we're going to work row 3 now, and then you should be able to go on your own. So chain 1 and turn your work, and this is how you begin every row that you do, with 1 single puff stitch. So pull up your loop, work 1 single puff stitch, and now you're ready to begin. So that's how you begin every row of your work, but I'm going to work this a little bit quicker and a few more rows just so that you can see how the stitch works up. Okay then, so I'm on to my last petal group, and I'm just showing you this one because it can be quite hard to see. So I've just done 2 petals and I'm going to work into this stitch here. So it's quite hard to see, but it's just on the very edge that you're just going to work into. Just work it the exact same way, and then you have row 3. So I'm going to work a few more rows for you so you can see how this swatch has turned out. Okay then, so I've just finished my swatch square and I'm just going to chain 1 and cut off my yarn like so. So there, I finished my jasmine stitch. As you can see, you've used a number of puff stitches to create this beautiful stitch that is one of my favourites. It works up really quickly. It's a nice thick and puffy stitch, and also the design of the flowers is just beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope you like the stitch as much as I do. Thank you all so much for watching again. Don't forget to leave those comments down below telling me how I'm doing, if you want me to go a little bit slower or a little bit quicker, if you want me to go through things a number of times. Obviously this is your learning. I do know how to do these stitches, so it's all down to you. So don't forget to leave me a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe so that you never miss a video. I'm doing crochet stitches, knitting videos, knitting projects, crochet projects, all sorts of fun things. And also, if you have the chance, follow me on Instagram. I'm at hooks.andneedles1. I post more exclusive things as well as more regularly throughout the week. I'm always on there showing new projects that I'm doing. So thank you all, and I'll see you next week.